Hello, and welcome to a discussion of Hugging Face. And you may be asking yourself, well, what is Hugging Face? And one way to look at it is basically GitHub for AI ML. That's one sort of approach. It presents itself as the AI community for building the future, not a pretentious sort of statement at all, but at the same time, they're doing it. So when you get here, you can see that it has a collection of things like models, and as you well know, by taking this course, a model is an approximation of a complex system, so that we build them so that we can simulate what's going to happen in the real world. Data sets, collection of data that is often curated from a particular domain for a particular purpose. You can see quite a few of the data sets around kind of what they are, what they exist. They're tagged, they're sized. You can drill into a particular one. They're also rated according to frequency of use, popularity, if you will, tell you pretty much what they are, and so on for the particular purposes that you're wanting to use them for. Likewise with models, the same sort of thing. There's the trending models that are going to be the most popular, and also you will want to keep an eye on those numbers like 7B. That's 7 billion, right? So that smaller than 15 billion most likely, although you kind of have to go poke around to be sure. Also, one of the things generally with models, good ones especially, will have examples. I don't know if this particular one does, but generally they have a good description of what they are. They do have an examples directory here so that you can go in and look at the things which you've signed on. I haven't signed up yet. But they do give you here a very simple sort of approach using the transformers model, which is what Hugging Face is based upon. It's highly focused on transformers, and transformers is a topic for another day. However, we will revisit them, and you've probably covered them in other AI courses. Spaces, very cool stuff as well. It's essentially an environment. Think of it somewhat like Google Colab. You have a choice of it being public or private. It presents something that it can be accessed from the internet as a whole. And so you can actually run it run other people's examples if they're set with that sort of privacy and so on. There is version control, we'll see as well. But so let's go ahead and skip to the part where we try to sign on. This particular user hasn't been here before. We'll go ahead and try it just to be on the safe side, but I seriously doubt that it's here, right? So it's gonna tell me it probably doesn't know me. I'm gonna click on sign up, give it that same email address, and a simpler password to remember, and next. And my password saver is offering to save it, and no thanks for making me go through hello to get to it. So once you've given it an email address that it hasn't seen before, it'll take you through a typical onboarding experience like many of the sites you've been on. You can pick an image for your avatar if you're so inclined. You can link to your GitHub account, your homepage, which might be your LinkedIn account, and your Twitter page as well. And then you can do some essentially some things that you're interested in. This is part of that community part, is it talks about itself about being a community. Oh, username. It doesn't like. It doesn't help. Please match. So username may have to be this. Yeah. And then you have to do a test. Are you a person or not? So you basically have to drive the car, I guess. The end. You probably just had to click on the end. But anyway, it was a game, so I had fun. So anyway, so now there should be an email coming to this account for this particular profile that'll allow me to activate. Also, you can see now we are sort of logged in, though it does want us to click on this link that I'm clicking on off screen here. And so I've validated my email address, and now it's trying to get me to become part of take this down a little smaller, part of an organization. That organization could be your university, and so on. So for fun, we'll see if University of the Cumberlands isn't here. Could try to create it, but I doubt that I have enough permissions to do so, so I won't. So we now are in, we're verified, so we should be able to see something a little more interesting inside of the models and spaces. So let's get rid of that. Get rid of this. So we're now in, without being in any particular organization. We can poke around again, go to look at the models and even the spaces, our own spaces. It's going to harass you to try to join an organization. We'll get rid of that for now. But you can also create a space, which is where I think it's incredibly cool, given the ease of effort. So we give it a name. So I'll call this my first space. You have a choice here of the license that your space, what you're going to create in that space is going to be. This is similar to whenever you put a license into your GitHub account. And then you have an option of picking a SDK to start with. And so I'm going to go ahead and say Gradio and do that in here as well. And Gradio, we'll talk about in a little bit, is a tool that makes it really easy to create demos, a UI, especially for a demo. And by using this particular SDK, it basically sets everything up for you. You have a choice here of how much processing power you want to get. And you can see that if you stay down with the two VPCs, it's free. If you go up to anything else, you're going to start paying. And so for what we do, we'll keep it to where it's free. But this is something that's, as a organization, this makes it an interesting alternative to some of the other cloud-based environments, because this is very low effort to set up, right? I mean, you've seen how easy it is so far. And I could be, I'm assuming at the point I picked this, they're going to want a credit card, using a small GPU-based processor very quickly with this environment. I'll leave it there for now. I'm going to leave my spaces public as well. And go ahead and click on create. This is similar to like GitHub, where you have a private and a secure, private location or a public location. So near here, you've got your Gradio space. You have a choice. You can basically create a file and then commit it, and that's a really easy way of doing it, or do it kind of more directly. You do have the option here of going in with SSH. For fun, we'll do it the more challenging way. Open up a command prompt, go to repos, it's already here. Then do that, git clone. It's just going to pull it down into here, go into it. And then you do have an option here. If you want to, you could go with code in this directory. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this code, because this is easy. And what I'm doing is creating, if I get the right thing, a file. And if with any luck we have our source control turned on, let's go out with a new file, call it app.py, since that's what they said to call it. Put it here, put this code into it, save it. And with all these sort of demos, this will probably go horribly wrong. And then should be able to commit it unless I have to do it actually. May need to do a little bit of work to get this linked up. But what we're trying to do is essentially get the file out there. See if probably go just at the command prompt. I thought Visual Studio Code would do it for me. I'm basically doing what it said, which is add the py file to this repo, commit it with a comment, which in this case is just add application file, and then do a push up to the repo. At this point, it wants to know my credentials, and I think it's wanting my chemist book. So it wants a token. All right, more challenging than I wanted to tackle with this sort of discussion, because I wanted this to be a brief intro. But we'll pursue this just a little bit longer, because if I remember correctly, so the account, Lake House Cookbook is the right one. I think I can go here. It's like a place where you go to developer. Right. So anyway, I'm gonna stop going down this route, but you can basically see very quickly you can get into GitHub, into Hugging Face. You can have a space up and running, your own personal space. You can also go in and take a look at other people's spaces. So these are ones that are the space of the week. This is owl tracking. Whenever you go into a space, you're presented with the app, and that's what happens typically with that app.py. It's what's going to describe what happens here. The files are what you're dealing with. It's essentially your branch, right? You can think of it as your code of when it was done. There's their app py. You can actually go in and take a look at their app py and see what they're doing, and see what libraries. And you can see here they are using Gradio as well. So this is an example of what Gradio's UI looks like. And the part that makes it really pretty easy is there's not a lot of code involved with Gradio in general. You're basically here setting up some blocks, and we're giving it the name demo, adding some markdown. Looks like then doing a tab with some rows in it, and then an example. And then this is essentially defining the entire demo, right, in one go. Not a lot of real complexity here. But the cool thing is that you can easily click right back over to the app and see what it looks like. And so here's that markdown we were talking about up here, the tab with video, and then the so on below, an example of an input and what it's going to label it as. In this case, it's wanting either a video, looks like video, to do analysis to see if it's a cat or a cat or a dog. Or cog is. Anyway, so with that, we poked around a little bit with it, and I'll come back in a little bit later with a follow-up on of actually doing something interesting inside of this environment. So not telling you that you have to use Gradio and Hugging Face for your group project, but it is an alternative and one I think you should really consider. So take a look. It's something that's pretty cool and pretty interesting. If you have questions about it, let me know. I'll be back with more details as soon as I get around to it. Stay safe. I'll talk with you soon.